Whoops. That. I'm just sitting there like a goddamn idiot. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's installment of the Kevindiana Jones Show. I am Kevindiana Jones, and this is my show. I thought I was going to do a little bit of a, like a Mr. Rogers sort of thing. Putting on the sweater, making that an act. So, obviously, the hat goes on. Foist, the Dial of Destiny, Herbert Johnson, made by Michelle. And I have a non-Indiana Jones screen accurate as far as we know. Maybe he had a niece that made something like this for him. I don't know, but I do, and this is that. And I am wearing this tonight proudly. I'm not taking this off. I might as well put on the watch, too, as long as we're doing Dial of Destiny tonight. So, that's happening. I actually haven't worn the watch with the outfit yet, so this is the first time I'm doing it. Live on the air with the show. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining me on this lovely Monday night. In New York City, not winter, but fall hit, jacket weather hit today. Today, whilst I was at the Empire State Building with my niece and my sister, when we left, it got cold. Cold enough for a jacket, and that makes me very, very happy. It makes me very happy. Something that doesn't make me happy is a dear friend of mine that I've known for a very long time, Shane. His father just passed away, and his father watched this show. He was a big Indiana Jones fan, and he's hurting right now, and I really care about this guy a lot, and I hope he's doing better. Maybe he'll watch this at some point. Shane, I love you, pal. I hope you're doing all right. But today, I went to the Empire State Building. That was pretty cool. Shit, didn't knock anything over. Good. I'm a pro. All right, here we go. Oh, that's cool looking. All right. That's neat. Yeah, see how it just peaks a little bit. That is beautiful. That is cool. All right, that feels all right. I don't have on this, but that's all right. Oh, wait. I can put this on because he wears it over the shoulder. He wears it over the shoulder instead of under the... he always wears it over the shoulder. But regardless. All right, there we go. Cool. That makes me happy. There we go. We're back to happy. Thank you all for watching. Whether you're watching it live or on the replay. This is maybe the last time I'm going to do the replay. Instantly Monday nights. I'm going to probably just do the live show and then put it on YouTube on Fridays, because views count, and if the views on the replay are taking that away from YouTube, I'd rather have YouTube views, to be quite honest. So that's what I'm gonna do. So tonight will be the last time there's a Monday night replay. Thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. If you are on YouTube watching this, have a little special thing for you. You can please leave a comment on YouTube, ask me a question, and I'll probably answer it on the next show. I would love it. If that were to happen, so please do so. And I'll give you a nice little shout out. That'll be awesome. That'll be pretty cool to do, I think, hopefully. Hopefully it'll go well. YouTube can be, I've lucked out. YouTube has, I haven't tapped into the thing where the angry kooky people, the kookers, are onto me yet, so... Everything's very pleasant still. Everything's very pleasant, and that makes me happy. That makes me happy, too. Also, that makes me happy is this week is Comic-Con. This is New York Comic-Con. I'm going on Friday. I've been waiting all year for this. Every time it's done the year before, I can't wait to go to the next one. I'll be doing Temple of Doom this year. I will not be taking this just due to the size, but I will. Whoop! You didn't know that was there. Be taking this. The Lantern Artifacts, I think, version. Which I honestly think this is incredible, but the shape is incredible. We're going off tangent here, but this is what's going with me. It's a little heavy, but I'm gonna have to prepare for the possibility of putting my whip into the bag, because first time I went, they were like, the guards were literally like, can you step aside, please? And I was like, shit, what'd I do? And he was like, I just want to see your whip. Can you? That's amazing. I've been wanting to buy a whip. I want to check it out. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then the next year, the guy was like, yeah, you can't have that. You can't bring that in. I was like, But last year the guy really creamed his jeans for the whip. So why is this happening? And he was like, yeah, you got to put it in a bag. You got to put it in your bag. So I'm like, fuck, all right, fine, I got to do that. So that sucks. So I'm gonna take a bag that doesn't have the divider in it. Luckily, I have one that does that, and use that. It's my Last Crusade bag, but I swapped the straps out. I gotta be accurate. I gotta do it the right way. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome going in Temple of Doom gear. I'm going to be going with Crusader Jones, Short Dude cosplay, and Shauna Kaplan, who does a fantastic Marion. Hopefully we'll all meet up. It'll be pretty goddamn cool if that does happen. Even if the timing works out for we're like 5-10 minutes together, I don't care. It'll be so cool to finally meet some of you that I haven't met yet. So if anyone else out there is going to New York Comic Con on Friday, let me know. Let us know. Please do. So yeah, I'm also going to have a zip tie around the whip, just in case, because that might help. That might help my situation. I don't know. So yeah, tonight we're talking about Dial of Destiny, and also fan films. One in particular that was inspired by Indiana Jones, which I'm just going to talk about real quick now. By a guy that does a great indie, and he's just a bowl full of muscles. Johnny Bombs, John Galligan, he has made his own fan film called the Indiana Jones and the Legend of the Inwood Caves, and that trailer just recently came out, and he went for it on this one. It looks like a movie. The stunts look awesome. The editing looks fantastic. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I think it premieres later this month, but if you haven't checked it out on YouTube or on his page, do so, because it does look really, really fun. It really made me want to make my own. I mean, it's awesome. But yeah, so the other thing that I want to talk about fan film-wise is not Indiana Jones based, but Indiana Jones inspired. It is inspired. I can clearly say it is. By my guest tonight. He created his own short film, and it is pretty damn good. It's something that he let me see a while ago, and it wasn't finished yet. I don't think, but maybe it was close to being finished. But it was just like, oh, this has got me. This has got my attention. It was like 20 minutes long, and I was very, very impressed with it. And it's something that I can't wait to talk to him about. It's called The Mirror of Amun-Ra, by the fan in the hat himself, Jon Rogers. Great title for the movie, great title for the cosplay thing that he does. He does a damn good Indiana Jones. You know, he's got some of them smirks down perfectly. He's got some smirks I can't do. I can't pull off some of those smirks that he pulls off, so that's really awesome. And so yeah, it's something that made me smile the whole time when I watched it, so I can't wait to talk to him about it. So why don't we let us cease of me speaking to all of you and go ahead and invite him on here. It's not, I don't know. This might be, I think this is his first time watching it live, and I don't know if, you might not have, okay, it's kind of blank when it shows you on there. So, I don't know if there's a thing you can do to enable live video. I'm not too sure, John, if you're out there. John? Call to John. I know this hurts. Call to John now. And that thing, and then it's, T1000, it's all. I'm just, I'm going to stretch things out. And I can stretch things out. You know, I've been meaning to write down things that would be good little banter to have on here. To be filler, filler, bullshit filler. Bueller, yes. So yeah, he is here. I'm not too sure what to do either. I don't know if there's like a settings thing. You may have to exit this, go into your settings, and like enable live, enable video and audio. Maybe it's app the allowances, like you're allowing the app to do it, whatever that is. That I don't know. Yeah, I haven't run into this one yet. Okay, cool. This is a new one. See, I'm a restaurant manager, and boy, oh boy, the issues that come up there. It's just computer systems can go a wacky wonko, and boy, I get on it. Okay, so anyways, you're on your laptop. Does it have a camera on it? Does it have a camera on it? I mean, I suppose we could just do it via comments. That would be an interesting thing to do. I would have to post the screen version of this. That would be. I mean, no. If you have it on your phone, the app, you can do so on the app. But yeah, I think you can do it on laptop as long as you have a webcam attached to it. I think. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure how that works. But yeah, you may have to end up doing this on your phone. Probably you will have to do this on your phone. So, see what's doing. See what's doing with that. But so yeah, I guess since we're talking about fan films and we're seeing what happens here, I mean, I'll just check every now and then. Periodically, I'll see if he is able to join. Okay, so he's not on here, so maybe he's signed off and going on to his phony phone, his cellular, his car phone. His car phone. Anyone old enough to remember car phones? Those bricks, those huge things? Man, those were fun. My dad had one of those. Massive. It was like a Zach Morris phone. And it made the old dial, like beep bop boop, boop bop beep, the proper thing. The reception was always terrible. But it was a good workout using those things. Car phones. I still call them car phones every now and then. I don't know if it's for laughs or because my mind is kind of going meep meep. It's going forward and back. I'm kind of on Lost, the show. You know, I don't know what is my constant. Who could my constant be? Okay, so he's back on here, but it's not showing up. It's not showing up as able to join. So let's just have a sip of this guy here. Yeah. So John, I don't know. Whoops. I said that kind of loud. Yeah, I don't know what's doing to you. You had to do it on, yeah. So, yeah. It's a tripod. Yeah, tripod. Yeah, I understand the tripod thing, but I have succumbed to the tripod. This is standing on a tripod with the light, which, you know, I've never actually done this on here before. Whilst we're killing time, whilst we're having fun. Oh, that. Can you even see that? Man, that would be cool. It's spinning lights, but I don't think anything really happens as far as what you can see. That's lame. That's not bad. Hey, there we go. Request to join. This is kind of cool. The different lights? Nah, it's too much. I don't want to do that. Okay. So clearly it worked that he's on his phone, and now we're just running into the old problem of what I always would run into. The request to join. I don't know why it just, yeah. All right, so I'm going to cancel that, and I'm going to redo it again. Yeah, here we go. Here we go, baby. Here we go, baby boy. All right, how we, you know, we're fine. Everything's cool. I'll give this a couple goes. How's everyone tonight? Hopefully good. It says invited. I don't know. Let's say cancel. Should I cancel it again? Okay. All right. Yeah. And this is real good. I mean, this is good for me to learn how to. Hey, there we go. Bingo.
Hey, I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties. This is my first time ever doing a live on Instagram.
You're on, and it's working, and I can hear you and see you, so we have succeeded, man.
Lovely.
We have done it. We have done it. How are you, buddy?
I am doing well. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate this honor, Kevin. Just means a lot to me.
Please. So. Well, I really appreciate that, and I will let you know that when I started off doing this, I would see some of the pictures you did. It would give me ideas and more confidence on how to do certain like poses and faces and give it acting. You know, you gave it acting, or which is a touch that you know, some people just look cool in the outfit as it is, but there's a touch of acting that when you give it that, like when you have like a look to you, and I really saw that, and I kind of responded well to that, and that helped me become me. So thank you for being a part of that.
Oh, that's really sweet. It's one of those things where you just have to you have to really study the micro expressions that Harrison does and just try your best to kind of replicate it. And when I was down in Australia last year taking some photos, the photographer there was like, you're a natural at this. You know how to pose for a camera. And I was just like, well, I'm a little bit of a diva at heart, I guess. So.
And actor probably, right? An actor as well?
Yes, yes. I haven't done that much yet, but I'm always looking for opportunities. Mostly it's been more behind the scenes stuff so far, but I mean, we'll see what the future holds.
Exactly. You know, who the hell knows? How old are you again?
I am 32.
32. The future holds quite a bit for you, buddy. The whole future holds quite a bit. That's just the beginning of life. I've truly believed. 32, 33, that's when you start to really get into life. So you're
I really need to hear that right now because I already feel so old and tired.
Oh man, I'm 44 and I feel like I'm just getting going still. Who are you wearing right now? What is all this? Your hat, your jacket, and your shirt?
So my hat is a Steele & Jones Streets of Cairo. This thing I got during COVID with stimulus money because I was just like, you know what? The world is on fire and I want to treat myself. So I finally bought myself a nice new hat. The jacket is a Wested. This one is hold on a minute. This is the one, wrong packet. This is the one that has the official kind of Peter Bottwright Raiders jacket thing. The shirt is a What Price Glory, just a generic medium long. Other than that, that's kind of all I'm wearing right now.
Nice, man. Oh, looks fantastic. You look great.
Thank
you. You look great. It's great to have you. Thank you. Thank you for being on the show. And you're in Minnesota, right?
Yes, I live in St. Paul, Minnesota.
St. Paul. Is it -10 there yet?
Not yet, but it's starting to get there. Today was definitely feeling a little chilly. So yeah, we're approaching my least favorite time of year. I am not a winter person. I do not like snow.
I hear that it's really rough there. So yeah. Oh, you don't love? Yeah, that helps that you don't love snow.
Yeah, it's a real pain.
That's unfortunate. But yeah, you really do. You capture the joy of wearing the gear very well. What do you love most about wearing the gear? This is the beginning of the Kevin 11, by the way. You get 11 questions. This is the beginning. What do you love most about wearing the gear?
Well, I'm perfectly happy to answer questions. It's better that you lead. So my thing with this costume is that ever since I was a kid, growing up with Indiana Jones and seeing him as this kind of like just mega power fantasy / idealized father figure, I just always loved the idea of being able to put on the costume and just feel like I am the most competent, badass man in the room. It's really just a costume that gives me a great deal of self-confidence when I'm out in public. And so as I got older and I discovered that there was like an entire community of people that do this like all the time, it's not just something for kids. Like that was a really liberating thing for me because I'm normally a pretty shy, kind of introverted person. But when I put on this costume and I go to conventions and things, I feel so much looser. I feel like I can just walk with like a spring in my step. It's a costume that it makes me feel like I could go anywhere and do anything. So it's really something that has massively helped for my self-esteem.
That's fantastic, man. I mean, that's been a byproduct of this all for me as well. I'll notice that as the older I get, the less I look at myself. The hours I cannot look in the mirror are abundant. But when I'm wearing anything on here, I'm fucking staring at myself. I'm just staring at myself. I'm just like, holy shit, look at that. Look at that. I can look like this. I can look cool. And there is some weird confidence that comes from it. Just putting on the outfit that, again, you've been wanting to wear your whole life. When did you start wearing, when did you get into the cosplay?
Well, I remember when I was really, really young, I was taking just whatever I could find from thrift stores just to approximate it as a teenager. But I wouldn't say I really officially started regularly turning this into a hobby until I was around maybe like 18 or so. At that point, I was starting to, become an adult and find independence. And I now had the freedom to be able to go to things like conventions and stuff where I could sort of interact with fellow-minded people. And that kind of resulted in me learning about like shops and places where I could like buy this stuff, like really premium quality. And so like it was definitely around like 18, 19 years old was when I really was like, okay, this is something that I've always dreamed of kind of dressing up as this character. And I've just settled for just random junk that I could find at thrift stores, I'm gonna now like really commit to like trying to find like accurate gear. And I mean, let me just be clear too that I'm not one of those people that I'm very snobbish about accuracy. Like I'm not one of those people that looks down on people that are starting out with just random thrift store stuff. If you're someone that is passionate about it and it still gives you that sense of confidence like it did for me, then you are incredible and I support you. And we all start somewhere. Like me, my interest in the accuracy and stuff, it's it's only so far as to how it makes me feel when I look at my pictures and things. It's for me. It's not something where I expect that standard for everyone else. Cosplay is something that it's a reflection of your own personal soul and your energy. And so I, for me, I really care about making sure that I have like really nice gear now because I've spent so many years dedicating to this character. But I just wanted to make that message clear because I don't want anything to be construed as like, oh, I'm such a stickler for the details and things. Like I don't give a shit if like your shirt or whatever has the wrong buttons. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's about what you bring to it. And like my costume is sort of an amalgamation of different elements because I'm not really that interested in just repeating a single look. I love being able to mix and match and create sort of my own version of the character from an adventure that we never saw. I've always loved that thought that Indy is someone who he has gone on countless adventures that we have never seen, that we might not ever see, and who knows if on that day he decided to wear a different pair of shoes or something. Like there's a there's a beauty to this character being set in the real world with the fact that in real life people don't wear the exact same thing every day. There's a little bit of leeway there. So that's something that I've always loved about him, and I try to kind of use that philosophy with my own costume, especially because of how certain bits of the gear are really expensive and it's really hard to find them. Like I still don't have a proper pair of indie boots, to be totally honest.
And that's quite all right because, like you said, he has to have worn other boots in his life at some point, and it's important to remember that because doing an outfit like that gives you freedom. It gives you a freedom to be that character still, your own version of it. And it is very important to know that no one's going to look at your shoes and be like, "Well, I don't think so." It's going to be it's just going to work, obviously. But you know, you can do what you want, and there's just a certain look, overall look that you want to pull off. And if people look at you and say that's Indiana Jones, boom, you're Indiana Jones. They get it. You could be wearing. I mean, I'm wearing sandals right now. I'm still Indiana Jones. I don't care. I'm wearing flip. Well, not sandals, but you know, they're at least they're Alden colored.
No, you're not Indiana Jones. You're Kevindiana Jones.
That's
Get it
damn right.
right.
That's damn right. You're damn right. I mean, what an amazing answer that was, man. That's fantastic. Speaking of all that confidence that you were speaking of that it gives you, you were one of the biggest supporters of the Dial of Destiny. How did it feel the first time you saw that movie?
So, my relationship with that movie, I am always going to be upfront that I'm so biased. I'm not going to be able to really objectively review it because of what it meant for me at this stage in my life, the journey that I've gone on with this character, and the people that I saw it with. Like, I was able to see it 3 times opening weekend, basically like day after day, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I went for 3 days, and the first viewing was just that childish, just I'm just in awe that I'm seeing him again.
Yep.
It was like a completely emotionally overwhelming experience. The second viewing was where I was able to now kind of concentrate on, okay, I'm now going to put on my critical cap a little bit and pay attention to like the story, the dialogue, the themes, all that stuff, all the hard things. And the third viewing was when I finally just was like, okay, I've had my like childish like lizard brain viewing, and then I've had my critical like aspiring filmmaker viewing. Now I'm just going to watch it without all that baggage and just treat it as just another movie. And so each experience brought like different fascinating feelings to the fore, and it's something where it, my feelings on it have shifted a little bit since it first came out. I am a little more critical of certain things, but I'm also even more in awe and in love with certain aspects of it. It's a movie that, I mean, this movie was facing so many hurdles to get made, and I honestly think it's a miracle it turned out as good as it did. Like, this
Hmm.
could have been a real shit show, considering everything going on in the world and just the baggage that the franchise has, and like Harrison's age. Like, so many things could have gone horribly wrong. For me, I felt like James Mangold, bless his heart, he really did as hard of a job as he could to really honor the character and give him like a really emotionally meaningful send off that really comments on just like his innate flaws as a human being. Like, I feel like this movie was able to accomplish really exploring Indy's soul in a way that I felt like Crystal Skull. I actually like Crystal Skull quite a bit. I'll be totally honest about that. I like all 5 movies. But Dial, I think, ultimately did a much better job of exploring the humanity of this character in his old age and struggling with just the realities of that, and how you inevitably end up feeling like you're kind of lost and you have not that much left to live for, and the world is passing you by. Like, those are all things that every single one of us is going to eventually have to face, and some of us already do to an extent. But watching the movie, like, the most present thing in my mind watching it that really made it such an emotionally potent experience was how I always connected with Indiana Jones my own feelings about my dad, because me and my dad had a bit of a complicated relationship growing up, and because my dad wasn't around very much, Indiana Jones ended up kind of acting as like my surrogate movie dad figure.
Hmm.
And so with this movie, this was the first film that I wasn't able to see with my dad. My dad passed away in 2020. And so watching it, seeing Harrison in this role in a really weird, spooky way, it was almost like seeing my dad alive again for 2 hours. And I know that sounds so
No,
melodramatic, but
oh,
it
done.
I brought so many emotions into that, and like the opening scene where you see him getting out of the chair and banging on the door with the neighbors and stuff. Like, that was all stuff that like that was 100% like my father. He was that kind of crotchety, just, I am fed up with the world and all that, and feeling like no one really understood what he had to offer and stuff. I could see it in him, like in his final years, where he was just like, I don't understand how anything works. And this movie, I felt, was a really powerful plea for empathy for our elders who
Hmm.
are going through that sort of thing. And yeah, like, I brought into the movie a lot of my personal baggage and history with my own dad, connected with Indiana Jones. And so that's why, for me, in spite of any flaws that it has with writing or acting or anything you want to go into like that, like, it's a special movie for me because it felt like catharsis for not just the character itself, but also my own personal kind of connection with my dad and how that all kind of synergized. It's really complicated when I say it out loud, but yeah, that's kind of the gist of it.
Makes sense to me. Well, it makes sense to me. I mean, James Mangold is no pud. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's made some fantastic films, and that is another one of them. He did, honestly, I feel like he did as well as anyone that wasn't Spielberg could have done. I mean, anyone else would have given their own kind of flair to it. I can't really think of anyone else that could have done it as well as Mangold did, because once you see, it was Ford versus Ferrari. It wasn't Logan, but it was Ford versus Ferrari for me that made me think, holy shit, this is it. This guy can make an Indiana Jones movie. I can just feel it. And then I went back and watched Copland, and that might be his best movie. I mean, he's had it within him the whole time. So it's just fantastic that he was able to
I
do it. How different of a film do you think Spielberg would have made?
Well, I mean, we already know that the plot would have been quite different, and we've seen like leaked concept art and things like that. I think it would have probably been more of a straightforward, old school style indie flick.
Hmm.
It wouldn't have gone to those like really deep, hardcore emotional places that Mangold likes to do. And I feel like ultimately it's a good thing that Spielberg stepped away and let someone else take it in that direction, because one of the biggest criticisms of Crystal Skull is that he just didn't have his heart in it, really. Like, he had grown past movies like that. Schindler's List changed him as a filmmaker. Like, ever since then, he just hasn't really gone back to that sort of G. Willikers style, just earnest popcorn style filmmaking. And so I feel like if you're going to end this series and you're going to really go for like the emotional like gut punch, you need someone that is capable of going to those places and has the bravery to really kind of like explore those things. And Mangold like has shown that he is the kind of guy that he loves to make stories about aging heroes who are dealing with all the frailties that come with it, the regrets, the missed opportunities, all that stuff. Like, so I felt like when he was first announced as the director of this, I was like, fuck yes, perfect, perfect. He's exactly what this movie needs. I to answer your question more properly, like Spielberg, I think still would have made a very fine movie because even Crystal Skull, being the indisputed weakest of them, in my opinion, is still a solid movie. Like there's things in it that bring it down, but it still has incredible filmmaking by him. Like Spielberg is one of those guys that even when he's on autopilot, he is just cooking with gas. Like
And
it's
Ford
nuts.
shines in it. Ford really does shine in Crystal Skull.
Oh
He's
yeah.
having such a blast in it.
Will Ford has consistently been flawless in these movies for me. And I would
Mhm.
argue that Dial. Oh,
Can anyone still hear him? I can't hear you.
sorry,
Hello?
that
Oh,
that
there
was
we
just,
go.
sorry, that was just my phone telling me the battery is low,
Ah,
which is a bit of a problem.
all right.
Um, yeah. This I feel like Harrison in this movie, he he poured his absolute heart and soul into it because he knew going into it, this is it for him. This is the finale. Even with Crystal Skull, when that came out, there was always that feeling of maybe we could get one more with him, just one more if they can come up with a good script. But this was the one where watching it, that was also part of the emotion, was just that feeling of this really is the goodbye. Like whatever they do with Indiana Jones going forward, this is it for Harrison, the man that started all this. Like that's an experience that when that final iris shot over the hat happens at the very end, I felt this feeling of just, man, like that's, it really felt like the ending of a chapter in my own personal history in a weird way. And God, just thinking about it, it just has me feeling all like wistful. And it's just, that's what this movie does to me, man.
I honestly was just feeling the same way because every time I watch it, I get more of like a when it does that Irish shot, I just go, oh. It's just like it kind of it takes something away from me, but also gives me something back, and it's just such a beautiful moment. So since your phone's about to die, let's get into your own film. Tell us something about your own creation.
So, given how much of a hardcore fan I am, I've always wanted to try doing a story in the Indiana Jones vein as sort of just like a love letter or tribute. And so a couple of years ago, I started working on a concept for a young female archaeologist named Cleopatra Price, who I thought would be an interesting take on it because she is very much the opposite of Indy in many ways. She's young, she's inexperienced, she doesn't really know what she's doing yet. She's hot-headed, she's reckless, she's impulsive. She has a good heart, but she definitely makes a lot of mistakes and is way in over her head. And I felt like that would be an interesting contrast to the character that Indy represents. And so I felt really passionate about this idea, thinking that, oh, there's a lot of potential here for like a really interesting story. And it went through many versions until I settled on the one that I finally filmed in the summer of 2022. And I was able to make that on almost no budget, really. Most of it was just like stuff from my own bank account or from donations from friends and family. You know how independent filmmaking works. But yeah, I was able to film that off and on during the summer whenever my actors were available. And they were all such amazing troopers dealing with it, especially because we had rain every single shoot day.
Oh,
It was a real ordeal to film it, but it was a movie that was made with just this sincere, ferocious passion and appreciation for the genre that Indiana Jones is part of the legacy of. And I kind of wanted to continue it in my own way. Like, I know that I'm never going to be Spielberg. Like, he is the titan among titans. But I wanted to make something that at least felt like it was in the spirit of something that he would make, something that would feel like it almost could be within the Indiana Jones universe, that just felt like of a piece with it, thematically, stylistically. And so it's a movie that has taken a long time to get made, and it's now finally coming out October 27th. And
Ah,
I'm really excited for people to be able to see it finally and just be able to be like, oh, that adventure is finally done.
that's fantastic, man. Well, like I said before, I have watched it, and I'm thank you so much for honoring me with letting me watch it. It really makes me feel like, oh, I'm doing something right if something like this is happening. And I felt like proud of you. I felt proud of you for having done that because it was just there was so much heart behind it. But there's also just like it goes beyond Indiana Jones, like you said, the genre itself. Would you say The Mummy played into it
Yeah.
at all?
Whenever I market this movie to people, I try to remember to tell them that it's not just a tribute to Indiana Jones, it's also a tribute to The Mummy, because that was also a very formative movie for me growing up. That was something that I think was honestly the first. I think I might have seen that before Indiana Jones, technically, but it birthed in me just this lifelong fascination with ancient Egypt and with like treasure hunting and the 1930s setting. I think it's actually technically the 20s, but and you get what I mean.
Yeah.
But then when I went on to watch Indiana Jones, that kind of cemented for me like, oh yeah, this genre is my bread and butter. Like this is the coolest thing. This just lights my imagination on fire. The idea of exploring the world and uncovering these ancient mysteries, the idea that the world is still this mysterious, strange place that we're never going to really properly crack the code of, like that kind of thing just compels me. I'm really fascinated by the idea of the unknown, and the adventure genre is just built on that. And so The Mummy was definitely something that I wanted to make sure I paid homage to that in this as well, with just the tone and the spirit. It's sort of a weird mixture of like Indiana Jones, The Mummy, which isn't really that difficult because they are like very similar in tone and style.
But there is a difference, though. There is indeed a difference in which the Mummy has more of like a magical kind of
Yeah,
twinge to it, whereas Indy's more supernatural in a way.
right,
But
right,
I do think there is a difference between the two. I just watched all the Mummy movies, and I thought, yeah, this is very Indiana Jones inspired, and it makes you think of Indy, but it does its own thing in its own
right.
way,
It's
and
more, yeah,
it's
the
also a little
Mummy.
more horror too.
Right. The Mummy movies definitely lean more into like the monster movie genre, which of course is because it's a remake of a monster movie. And
Right.
the supernatural elements are much more overt and present throughout the movie. So that is like the main difference for me. But even then, like they still share that sense of just wonder about ancient history. And Evie is a character that just, one of my first crushes. I'm always going to just adore that character and how just, ah, Indiana Jones and Evie and Rick O'Connell, like those are characters that are so fundamental to the person that I am today and the interests that I have. And so this movie was meant as sort of, I don't want it to feel like a ripoff. It's a very fine line to walk between like ripoff and just earnest pastiche. But the point of it is to just sort of act as an addition to this genre in what tiny way that I can give to just continue the legacy a little bit. And I don't know how it's going to be received. I don't know how successful it will be, but at least I can then look at it and be like, I finished something. I made something. I I got all the way to the finish line with it, and it's an earnest expression of just everything that those movies meant to me growing up. So it's, if nothing else, it's a movie made with utter love on my part, and I hope that comes through in the product for everybody.
It did for me. It did for me. I will be honest. When you sent me, asked me to watch it, I was like, yeah, sure. Thinking like, yeah, this
You
is
always you always have that reaction, yeah, when you first get told
okay.
that.
All right,
Yep.
here we go. Let's watch this. In within like 30 seconds, it went from like, and that's when like the is when I was like, I'm very proud of this kid. You aren't really a kid so much. I thought you were in your 20s for some
No,
reason, but just because he looks so
it's
young.
fine. I get told it all the time because I just have a baby face, so it's all good.
It's not so baby face in motion, I gotta tell you. It's not so baby facious. What would you say your favorite part of making this film was?
It was definitely the collaboration with my actors, with my producer, with with the crew. Like that part really made it feel like, okay, I'm like legitimately doing it. I'm making something that feels professional, and people are bouncing ideas off of me that I think are so clever and really elevated the final product. Like, I'm not one of those directors where I want people to like religiously stick to the script. If they have an idea that could maybe improve on it, I'd love to hear it. Like, I want to be someone that actors can feel comfortable talking to about their ideas and suggestions. And that's something that by the end of the shoot, like I was just feeling like, oh, despite all the stresses of like the weather and the technical complications and things, the people that I worked with, they were all so game and so professional, and they really put so much energy into it, especially given that a lot of them were just volunteering their time. And it's something where I wish that I had the ability to be able to pay people more for these sorts of things. But when you're in an independent production, you kind of have to just sort of make do. But people still, like, they gave so much time and energy, and they really believed in the project. And throughout the next year of post-production, they were continuing to cheerlead me on, like, don't give up on it. You got to just keep slaving through these really rough nights where you're just, I know that you feel like this is an overwhelming task, but I really think this is an awesome project and people are going to love it. And it's like, that's one of the messages that I would give to any starting filmmakers is make sure you surround yourself with people that are really going to be your cheerleader and believe in you, because you're going to have a lot of doubt. You're going to beat yourself up over tiny little mistakes. Like, filmmaking is one of those things that when you're starting out with it, you really underestimate just how complicated and stressful it will be. And it can be like a real shock to the system when you're doing it and you're just like, oh, wow, I thought this was going to be more just fun times and not like actual work. But the key to making something really good is you have to put a lot of work into it. So
Yep.
it's making this was definitely something that taught me a lot of important lessons that I want to take forward into other projects that I'm working on. But it's an experience where I'm really grateful for the people that I worked with. They were all so game and they were all so supportive of just the idea of it. Like, most of like the cast and crew were people that are passionate about this. Sorry, there was another message about my phone. I'm gonna see if I can actually find my phone charger. Give me
Yes, that
just
would be
one
good.
moment.
I can.
You're gonna get an
Oh, let's see.
impromptu tour of my crappy apartment. One moment.
Looks nice to me. I mean, I'm in New York City, so what do I know?
Oh, you're not seeing the floor. The life of a starving artist. Things are just kind of hidden out of view. One moment.
Sure.
It's all the angles. It's all the angles, my friend.
Right.
But I used to do a sketch comedy show, and I would edit the stuff. I would edit my own videos, and the other guy would edit his own videos. And obviously, the goal was to be funny, and it would just be, you'd work so hard at it, it would just end up being mathematical, and it wouldn't be funny at the end. You'd just be like, okay, that would be funny there. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, I do like that. That makes it funnier. Okay, yeah, 2 seconds less, 3 seconds more than this clip. Okay, now that's hilarious. Yay. All right, good. But then you show it to people.
There is a point where you start to talk in monotone. Yeah. Yep. Where you're just very matter of fact about all the things. But it was an experience that also taught me a lot about like problem solving and stress management, because of how, like, we're filming outdoors in the elements. You're completely at the mercy of nature. And on every single shooting day, like, we had storms rolling in that would cut us short with our filming. And so it was all about making sure that we maximize our time and that we stay on task and focused. There's still room for some improvisation and things, but otherwise it was very much, okay, this is an exercise in learning how to just focus in and get done what needs to get done. So it was a marathon, but I am very proud of how it turned out. It's a movie that is, I mean, it is an independent short film made on a very small budget, so it's not like I can pull off anything as grandiose as like a temple of the canyon of the crescent moon or anything like that. Like, it's going to be a pretty small scale, intimate, character driven story, but I still tried as much as I could to bring into it that sense of mystery and wonder and exploring an unusual place, all those things that I think are important trappings of the genre. So it's a movie that I tried to do what I could within my means, and I took a lot of inspiration from films from the 80s, like The Terminator and obviously Indiana Jones, movies that are made on pretty small budgets, but the people that made them knew how to just maximize what they had and be really creative within their limitations. So yeah, I wanted this movie to feel like something that had been made in the 80s and just never got a proper release. It just got thrown into a film can somewhere and now has been unearthed. So that philosophy just infused the entire project. Like, there's not a single bit of green screen in this. It was shot all on location, for real. We really did travel out to the middle of the woods. We really did travel to the biggest waterfall in Minnesota. We did everything we possibly could, because I was like, I want people to watch this and tell that this was not just made in the backyard. These people like went on a genuine trek to make this.
On location. On actual location. Not green screen location, real goddamn
Right.
location.
Exactly.
And it adds so much to it. I mean, like you said, that waterfall, the foliage of everything. Wait, it's shit. It's foliage, right? I get it mixed up because The Simpsons, she goes foliage. Foliage.
Oh.
It's
Foliage would be
foliage.
correct. Foliage would be correct with like the trees and things. Yep. But yeah, I wanted to make sure too that with like special effects or things like that, anything that this movie has, I wanted to feel like something that would have been attainable back in the 80s too, under like ILM in its early days. So the whole thing was made with this concept of, don't make it too over the top or crazy or wild. Like, keep it small scale, intimate, focused on character. So that's something that I want to have as like a major thread in all my work. I wanted to come with the idea of the people in this story are what's going to carry it through all the like crazy surface level trappings. Like, and that's something Spielberg did too with Indiana Jones, where yes, they're really fun, entertaining action adventure stories on the surface, but when you look deeper, they're really stories about a man who struggles with his family and his feelings of inadequacy around his father or his lover, and always cuts and runs whenever things get too emotionally hard, and this causes just massive traumatic situations with the people that he loves. And like, there's really like an emotional character through line throughout all 5 films that I find just, that's one of Spielberg's great gifts, is being able to find the humanity underneath the spectacle. Yeah. And so I tried very hard as best as I could to kind of capture that. And I wrote the script myself, for people that don't know. So the whole thing really came from my brain, and it was very tricky to try and come up with a self-contained, satisfying story within like the time frame of like 20 something minutes. That's how long the movie is. So it's definitely a magic trick to be pulled off.
You do it though. You're able to do it. I really hope that everyone does respond like I did to it. There's so many things there that we could just talk so long about. I mean, I want to go back to even the collaboration thing that you mentioned, that like creating things when it's with other people, it's fluid. When there's other people involved, things have to be fluid. And sometimes someone else, you bounce it, and something gets better because of that. And that just adds so much to that. And I'm sure those performers love that you were able to do that instead of being strict to like, no, this is it. And having done some short films, it's experience. It's fun to do, and if they definitely care about it, that makes it even better. So that's so cool. But there had to have been some difficult stuff, like you mentioned. What would you say the most difficult thing is about it? What was about it?
For me, it would have been the scheduling, because I mean, people's time is precious, and people are doing this essentially as like a volunteer thing. So it was something where I had to play ball with everyone's schedules and their availability and try to just accommodate as best I could. And there were times where I was genuinely worried that we would film something and not be able to finish what we all needed. And when we needed to refilm things, they wouldn't be available anymore. Like, something would happen where they just would be like, I'm sorry, I'm no longer in the state, or something. Like, you never know when this kind of thing happens. And so that was the sort of thing that caused me tremendous anxiety, was just that feeling of, we're filming this off and on basically throughout the whole summer, just whenever we could find the time to go out there. And so it's just, that was something that caused me a lot of grief. Just that feeling of, time and weather are the 2 things that you never have control over. And it's something that taught me important lessons about planning ahead, making sure that everyone's on the same page with the scheduling and what everyone is willing to do on what day. And like, especially when filming the fight scene and stuff, like that was something where we were having difficulty with it the first time we shot it, so we had to go back and reshoot it. But that was something where there was really no guarantee that we'd even have the time to do that before the weather changed and like the leaves started to turn yellow, and you can't really, that would ruin continuity. So it's all these technical little things that were kind of haunting me throughout the filming of it. And that was really the biggest thing for me, was just that feeling of this. There are so many little ways in which this could go wrong, and we could end up with like a half-finished movie that then we wouldn't really be able to complete it without having really glaring continuity issues or something like. But we were able to somehow pull it off. We were able to find the days and film what we could within the small amount of time we had, and I was able to eventually stitch it all together myself in DaVinci Resolve, and it turned out to be a coherent, competent short film. Like, it's one of those things where as I was editing it, I kept thinking about Jaws and the original Star Wars, where those were also movies that went through just horrendous difficulties while filming it. But then the edit was able to kind of just bring it all together, and you start to realize, oh man, all that suffering is finally worth it. Like, we actually came out with like a really solid, good movie, and the limitations we were under actually ended up blessing, because it forced us to be creative and come up with solutions that we wouldn't have thought of. Like the whole famous story about Jaws, with how the shark wasn't working. They had to use the barrels instead, and that ends up being 10 times scarier. Like, those are the sorts of things that, while I was making it, I was telling myself, no matter how stressful this is, no matter how hard this gets, just try to.
I think your hand is over the microphone. I think your hand might be over the microphone.
Oh,
Yeah, there
oh,
we go.
oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, just I try to I remind myself of, like, even the giants like Spielberg and Lucas and stuff. Their early movies were really stressful, chaotic affairs that they were able to use talent and skill to be able to make the most of it. And movies really are a magic trick. It's a very careful combination of factors that you never really know if it's going to turn out well until it's like complete and in your hand. And so it's one of the things you just have to have faith while you're making it. And I definitely had my days where I would watch the cut and I'd just be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have way overreached my grasp. I am in pure Icarus territory here. But people were able to just support me and cheer me on and remind me of how special the project was to me, and how there were so many people that were like really invested in seeing it when it was all done. So I was able to eventually get on the other side of those emotions. And so it's something that the more I do films, the more I'm going to kind of develop that sort of backbone of like, okay, just because things are a little tricky and complicated right now, this isn't the end of the world. This isn't a project destroying disaster. We can figure this all out, and it's going to turn out okay. Like, you kind of have to just tell yourself, like, it's the whole, like, I do believe in fairies. You just have to try and hold on to that kind of reckless hope that it's going to turn out well. So,
Well, there's the factor of when they made these movies back in the day, the limitations is what made
yep.
them good. And I've been saying for ages and ages, limitation is the artist's greatest gift, because it makes them have to do something else. It makes them, okay, well, we got to do this. Well, we got to do this. When they're giving everything, when you have abundance and on access to all, it kind of takes something away. You can kind of tell. And when something is made a certain way, like, it's just like, yeah, click, 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 there, we did it. But when it's actually done, you can tell the difference. You can feel the difference. It just makes all the difference in the world. And I feel like that sort of thing can only help what you were doing. Like you said, you did it all there, actually in-house or on location. And that to me added to it all too. It really did. And I really hope that factor makes it all better for others as well. Would you say that part of your inspiration for this or your goal perhaps would it be to inspire others to create something like this as well? Because when I watched it, I was like, shit, I want to do something like this. This is something I would love to jump. I would jump at the chance to be in something like this. Like, would you say that's a goal of yours?
That was definitely something that was on my mind. Um, I I love the idea that this is a project that will remind people of just what the adventure genre inspires in people, and it creates this sense of passion. And if I can continue the cycle that Spielberg and Lucas started, where they were making Indiana Jones and Star Wars as their way of paying tribute to what came before, if I can somehow make something that inspires someone else to be like, damn, I could do an adventure movie on like $2,000, like that would make me incredibly happy. That would make me feel like I've actually left some sort of mark on the genre and helped kind of sustain it in this time where the pulp adventure genre feels like a little bit of a niche thing. Like I mean, it's something that I feel like when it comes to genres, there's always like a cycle where things go in and out of fashion. So I hope that the adventure genre can someday bounce back, but I feel like right now we're kind of in a lull with it. Um, with
It
the
happens. It happens every decade.
right, and so it would be really great if people can watch this and be like, man, this is a really good example of kind of like how those movies like inspired creativity in people and made them dreamers. And
Yeah.
it's, I mean, I don't want to compare myself to like Titans, but the guys that did that Raiders adaptation like fan film, like those guys are a perfect example of how the cyclical effect of people make something that is based on something they're passionate about, that inspires other people to make something based on the thing that they are passionate about, and it just continues this wonderful tradition of keeping the spirit alive. And so like I'd love if that can be a result of this. It's meant to also be effective as like a standalone short film. Like I'm not trying to start like a big franchise or anything really. I mean, when I initially started it, I kind of had ambitions about that, but then I had this moment of clarity where I was like, no, 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 no. The the best thing that you can do right now is just focus on making this as good as you can make it within in and of itself. Don't make it feel like a Marvel movie where it's banging you over the head with, hey, look at this cameo of someone that's going to be the villain in the next movie. Like I tried to avoid things like that the more I started writing it, because I just realized part of the magic of those older movies, which this is again meant as a tribute to that older type of cinema, is that they understood that if you just make like a really solid self-contained movie, people are then going to want more.
Yeah.
And that is how you're able to create a sense of loyalty and like a fan base. And in the event that this does well enough that people are like really into it and they want to see more of this character in this world, like I certainly have ideas, but for the most part, I'm looking at this as sort of a one and done. This is me putting out into the world just my deep love for these films that I grew up on. And if this is all it is, then I'm really proud of it, and I can look at it and be like, I did that. I made something.
Your baby.
Yes.
Absolutely. So it's your creation, and you're putting it out there, and that alone is worth applause on my part. I mean, because I know how hard that could be just to make a 3-minute video. It could be hard as shit. So
Well,
20 minutes. I mean, I've never even attempted anything like that. That makes my heart go, no, 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 you're not going to do anything like that.
well, and part of the thing too that I wanted to bring up with this is that when you're cutting your teeth on these sorts of films and you're just starting out and everything, like it really is something that teaches you empathy for the people that make bigger movies, and they have so much more like riding on their shoulders. Like if it was this stressful and like exhausting to just make something on this scale, just imagining what people have to deal with when they're dealing with these like multi-million-dollar budgets and all these moving parts and like 3 different studios breathing down your neck trying to make sure that you're making a product that will sell. Like these are all things that like it's really made me think about how the people that make movies for a living, like they are under tremendous pressure. And I want to be, I don't want to be cynical. I want to believe that everyone that makes movies, they're genuinely trying their best to make something.
That was weird. I don't know. There was a countdown. I thought that was for my screen recording, but I only had an hour. I could only do that for an hour. That was bullshit. What the fuck happened? Oh, he's unable to join. Well, that's fascinating. They fuck you with the lives. First, they have you join, then you have. I can't rhyme anything. There we go. I think that was me because it said I had a countdown going, but I thought it was just my screen recording. But I guess I only had it. Oh, he's gone, and he's gone, and he's gone. I don't understand. I just don't. I don't get it. I mean, at least we're nearing the end, so it's not gonna. This isn't gonna be. This isn't gonna drive me crazy. I don't know what's happening here. What? Yeah, I don't know. You there? No, he's gone. He's gone again. I'm not too sure. Okay, so well, I had technical difficulty, and then now he has it. Is this it? Is this Skynet? Skynet? No, no, no. Skynet. I've told you. I like you all. I like phones. I like my electronics. I like things. I like things. I like my electronics. I love my electronics. Where would I be with my electronics? I love electronics. I need my electronics. I'm not going to be one of these people that's no, I don't need my electronics. I need my electronics, and I appreciate you, electronics, Skynet, whatever you want to call yourself. I really appreciate you. It's this isn't. This is. I'm gonna lean down now because my legs were tensing up. I don't understand. That was the weirdest damn thing. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, his phone was plugged in. It seems, I think. But okay, there we go again. Here we go again. Here we go again. View, yes, view. Boy, the date. Oh, yep,
Oh,
yep.
I am so sorry about this. I think my phone like froze on like a certain moment, and then I ended up having to like literally restart my phone. So
Huh,
yeah,
good.
I hope you can hear me and see me okay.
I can indeed. It's so weird because my phone just malfunctioned and then your phone malfunctioned. I was telling Skynet out there, it's Skynet, we're good. Remember all the things I said, but let's. So I guess I only had an hour. I only had an hour to do the show, but now we're doing more. We only have a few more questions anyway, but
Sure, sure.
I don't quite remember where the hell we were.
I
But we were talking about inspiring others to do stuff, I believe. Yeah.
Yes, yes, that's right. Yep, and I tend to ramble too, so feel free to always cut me off if you need to.
It did it itself. I didn't have to. So yeah, that was that. Um, would you ever make a short film based on Indiana Jones, and would you play him?
That is one of those things where if I had the budget that I really want and the kind of resources, I would love to make something with that. It's I feel like the problem with it is that I would be so tempted to do so many things that probably would be outside of my abilities, and I'm almost scared of getting that opportunity and then just being like, I'm gonna turn into a 10-year-old and just throw all caution to the wind and do some really wild stuff when I'm still not experienced enough with this to like really pull it off the way that I really would like to. Like, I wish that I had the ability to do something on the level of um, the the Raiders adaptation, something of that kind of scope, scale, and creativity. But if I were to do something Indiana Jones related as a short film, it would have to be pretty simple and small scale. Again, kind of like Mirror of Amun-Ra, and that would make me feel kind of sad because I feel like if I have this opportunity to do something with Indy, I really want to make it like something spectacular. Like I want it to really feel cinematic. But the thing is that when I was younger, I did actually attempt to do an Indiana Jones
And it was something that I deliberately designed it to be done with absolutely zero budget and essentially just only me on camera. It was because I was still just moving into my own place. I was freshly out of the nest, and I didn't really have a lot to my name, and I was just starting out as an adult. So what I came up with was this concept for basically a found footage Indiana Jones series set in the 1930s while Indy is held captive by Nazis, and they're like recording their interrogation sessions of him. And it was called the Indiana Jones Interrogations. And it's basically just me in my costume sitting in front of a wall pretending that I'm being like brutally tortured and interrogated by Nazis. And it's a whole thing that I was able to do a couple of years back with a friend of mine from Arizona. We co-directed it and wrote it, and it's done on virtually no budget. It is just me, a much thinner me, doing just my own Harrison Ford impression and trying to tell like a very kind of slapdash Scotch taped together story. But it's on YouTube. Like, I actually would be happy to link it to you at some point because you might get a kick out of it.
Yes, I will.
Well, that is my only real experience with trying to do an Indiana Jones fan film, as it were. But if I ever got the opportunity again, I would definitely want to be more ambitious. I want to make something that really kind of, I'd love to do like a proper like.
Oh, I think your finger's on the microphone again.
Sorry. Yeah.
There we go.
But yeah, I would be tempted to be really ambitious with it, and that's something that I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. I'm still like building up to something like that.
I mean, clearly you got the skills, you got the tools, and you got the talent.
Thanks.
I mean, I can't believe that we've already flown through the 11 questions, although I do have a question I want to go back to since you do have your phone plugged in. I had one more Dial of Destiny question.
Oh, sure. Yes.
What would you say your favorite part is? If it's not if it's the prologue, fine. But if it's not the okay, what's your favorite part beyond the prologue in Dial of Destiny?
I mean, I wasn't going to say the prologue, even though I love the prologue, because I feel like because the prologue is really just it's cocaine for us hardcore fans. It's an indulgence. James Mangold talked about how that entire opening 20 minutes is him giving the fans exactly what they wanted to see before he then gave us a story that he felt would be richer and more complicated and something that we maybe weren't expecting. And that's where I find the real kind of nuggets of gold in the story. So my favorite moments are actually like the really character-centric ones, like that scene where you first see him in the classroom and he's trying to teach people about Archimedes, and the kids are all just apathetic. They don't really give a shit about any of this. They're distracted by the moon landing. Like, that's a moment that I think is really, really sad and moving as like just a microcosm of what it is to be old and dealing with a rapidly changing world. And so that's a scene that I think has incredible beauty to it and meaning. But as far as like may I give like a couple of different scenes? Does it have to be just one?
Two.
Okay,
Two.
yeah. Okay, two. Oh boy, two. Okay. I mean, I do love that climax in Syracuse. I was so overjoyed that they were legit going for it with time travel, and the fact that Indy gets to finally witness history for real with his own eyes and touch it. Like, that is so profound for that character. Like, that really felt like this is if you're going to end this character's journey, like, this feels truly like the most spectacular thing that could happen to him. Is him being able to, like, and it also, in a funny way, fulfills the tradition of young Indiana Jones, where he gets to meet a historical figure. So that made me laugh a little bit too. But if I have to choose an absolute 100% favorite scene, it is the scene on the boat where he's talking to Helena and he tells her about Mutt. Because everybody, I know Shia LaBeouf is contentious. I know that character has a lot of haters. I grew up at the right time to be able to kind of look at that character and be like, oh, he's very much what Indy was to his own dad, where he's kind of the reckless upstart who represents the rebelliousness of youth and throughout the course of the story, like, you kind of see how a lot of his bravado and stuff that, yes, is annoying, but it's kind of the point of the character that he's sort of this very full of himself, putting on an act to cover up his insecurities, which I think is also what Indy did. Like, I feel like Indy's entire personality as this badass adventurer, this is his coping mechanism for his grief over his mom and not being able to connect with his dad. Like, it is sort of his own, like, childish Peter Pan syndrome coming out. And so for me, I always liked how Mutt is a reflection of that thrown back at Indy. So for me, I always liked the Mutt character. And I was very curious how this movie was going to handle his absence, given what Shia has turned out to be.
Right.
So when that scene came up, the minute he says, I'd stop my son from enlisting, I was like, oh shit, here we go. And just the way Harrison plays that moment, it's that and a scene from Shrinking. Those are like the two best moments of acting in Harrison's entire career for me. Just seeing the raw grief and pain in his voice, hearing the Marion theme softly in the background, seeing how Helena now understands how human this guy is, that she up to that point has been very dismissive and cold towards. Now she kind of sees the reality of, like, this is a guy who has gone through unimaginable loss, and that's what triggers her own character arc to then start to kind of understand and respect him. Like, I think that scene is critical to the entire movie, and it really just, it's the perfect example of what I was talking about, where James Mangold, I wanted this movie to really take Indy to these emotional places that we hadn't really seen before. And that, for my money, is Harrison's crowning achievement in the whole series as an actor, just being able to kind of just bring the fantasy of Indiana Jones crashing down to the real world, the horrible reality of how so many young men were thrown into the meat grinder of Vietnam. And just, it's, Indiana Jones has always kind of dovetailed with real world history, and that's something I really appreciate about the series. And that was a really just tragic example of that, where it's like, okay, if you're going to do Indiana Jones set in the 60s, I mean, you're going to have to address Vietnam. And what better way to do that than to also address the elephant in the room of the sidekick from the last movie that people didn't like no longer being available? Well, Mangold had the smart idea of, well, let's turn that into a plot point. Let's make that something that's meaningful for Indy's character, something that he struggles with, something that gives him a sense of pathos. And so even though I like the character of Mutt, I approve of the decision to kill him off in that way, because it means something for Indy, and it drives home, like, just, it completely justifies for me why Indy is in the state he's in at the start of that movie. Like, losing a child, especially when you think that it's your fault, that he did it because he wanted to spite you, like, that's going to really mess with your head. And I thought that was just, I'm rambling again, but that's a scene that I remember watching it for the first time and just being like, I have never felt this way in an Indiana Jones movie. I didn't expect to feel it here, but man, am I happy that I'm here right now. And just being able to witness this moment where Harrison was just able to bring the big guns, and just, man, the way his voice breaks when he just says, I tell him he was going to die. Just, fuck!
It's awful.
It's amazing.
It really hits
just
hard.
A tremendous moment.
It really just hits so hard. I mean, I totally agree with everything you just said regarding his career. That's the best moments, and I know what you're talking about with Shrinking as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just a blessing that we got this, and it was a blessing to have you on the show, because that's it. That is the Kevin 11. You have made it through the final round. Thank you so much for being my guest tonight, my friend.
I've survived the booby traps of technical difficulties, yes.
They happen often on this show. Wait, happens to me all the time. My
nice.
God.
Nice.
Thank you so much, my friend. Again, it's the Mirror of Amun-Ra, folks. So please watch the trailer on YouTube, and the movie comes out October 27th, you said?
That is correct.
Excellent.
And
Well, I can't wait for everyone to see it. You were terrific. You did a great job, especially for this being your first time. Well done, my friend. Well done. We'll talk soon.
Thank you very much, Kevindiana. And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening and being so gracious. So I hope you like the movie when you see it.
They will. They will, I guarantee it. Have a good night, buddy.
Good night.
All right. Well, we did it. with the technical difficulties. Why wouldn't they all happen like that? But hey, what a terrific show that ended up being. Excellent answers. My goodness, makes me want to go make a short film myself, or makes me want to have done a short film already and watch it. I don't really want to go through the trouble of all that stuff you talked about. But yeah, thank you again, John. Terrific guest. It was such a fun episode. Next week will be also very fun because it will be someone I'm going to be meeting for the first time at the New York Comic Con. Short guy cosplay himself. Chris, I don't know his last name, but I'll find out. Maybe he just wants to be known as Chris. I don't care. That's his own. That's his prerogative. He can do what he wants to do. It's his prerogative. Yeah. So that'll be fun. We'll be talking about all the different characters he does and just find out how short he is. Is he really that short? Because I'm kind of short. If he's my height, I'm going to be pissed because I don't really consider myself short. I consider myself average. So we'll see. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, all that shit. It helps. Please do. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment, ask a question, and I'll answer it on the next episode. Hopefully, there won't be an hour-long limit on that. A bunch of horse shit. There's always some kind of horse shit that you got to deal with on this goddamn show. It's just like Indiana Jones. It's never easy. Yeah, right. Okay. We did it. Thank you all so much for watching. You're the best, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Oh, I'll do the Zodiac. The Zodiac goodbye. Goodbye. Good night, everybody.